to the recaps. First, let's start with The Walking Dead. Walking Dead had a pretty interesting episode. It wasn't as explosive as that comeback episode that they had the first week, but it was still a pretty solid episode.
It
Kahuna,
was explosive in other ways.
it was explosive in other ways. You are right about that, GQ. So let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit.
It was
Um,
a safe episode.
yeah, okay. Kahuna, why don't you kind of take us a little bit through your a diligent watcher of The Walking Dead? So why don't you kind of lead us off with that?
Um, I enjoyed
What
the
happened?
episode. It definitely wasn't, the very first episode, all that action, but I mean, we got introduced to what's his name, Paul Monroe, Jesus, and
Jesus.
he's a pretty big character in the comics,
Hmm.
and it's pretty cool to see some of his. He's an expert at hand-to-hand combat, and he's an escape artist too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to actually see that in the show. You saw him; he escaped a couple times actually, from being tied up, and we finally got the world's been waiting for Rick Shone, and we finally
Richonne.
got Rick Shone. You know,
Now it's interesting
Rick
you bring
Rick.
that up because I was always kind of thinking that they would kind of get together even in the books because they were the two biggest personalities in the entire group. You had the badass black woman and you had the take no shit white guy. Who was a sheriff. It seemed like a pretty obvious match, but Kirkman kind of kept them separate, and he always did a really good job with it. But what do you guys, GQ? What do you think of the whole pairing with Rick Shone and all that kind of stuff? What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's one of those situations where, like, I guess if you're the last man and last woman on earth, somebody's gonna hook up with somebody. Because I've never found her to be attractive in the least. And you guys know how I am. So if
Yes,
a
we know
woman's
how
not
you
attractive,
are.
I'm not going to sleep with her.
Yeah, we
So
know how you are.
yeah, again, it's just it comes out of necessity. It's like, doggone it, you've been killing zombies for the past couple of years. You gotta get the rocks off somehow. And
Cool.
there you
Got to
go.
get your rocks off somehow. No celibacy for you. You do it if only if she was the
No, I
last
no
chicken up.
no I no I wouldn't. Like I
Oh,
said,
you
she's not
wouldn't.
attractive to
I
me.
see.
I got
So
a sword you can play with.
well, you're right, exactly. I no, she's not. I don't care what nobody says. She is not like hot enough to. No, not
Okay.
happening.
All right, Dido, get in there. What did you think of the episode this week?
I thought it was a pretty cool episode. The whole I'm not calling him Rick Shone. I'm calling him Mick
You call him
because
Mick? Mick? Mick?
yeah,
That's
Shone and
not
Rick.
bad. That's not
But
bad. That's not bad at all.
you know what I think it is? It's just because that Rick he sees himself as being a really strong character and a survivor, and
Right.
all the women that come across die, except for Michonne. She's a
She's the one
strong woman,
constant in
and I
his
think
life.
that's what
Yeah.
he's looking for. Somebody that's going to be there with him because every time he gets himself attached to somebody, they die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like that's going to happen to her. Why not attach yourself to somebody that's extremely strong and go from there? But I thought the episode was actually pretty cool. It kind of did piss me off a little bit because you got Jesus, who I know nothing about, because I read the comics up to a certain point, and I
Hmm.
didn't get to his introduction at all. And all that food that just got ruined because you two guys just, I'd have killed him. Like, I would have been so nice.
Yeah, they had a big lick with that truck.
Yeah. So, but I think that's one that they call a safe episode completely because, like, nothing really happened. Yeah, it introduced the character. I want to know a little bit more about this character. Part of me says I should read the comics, but at the same time, the comics and the TV show do kind of diverge, I should say, rather. And I don't even know if he's going to be like I is in the comics.
Who, Negan? He better be. He better be. Because if
Yeah.
he's not, that's going to be a big problem. Not only for me, but a lot of
Yeah,
dedicated Walking Dead fans. That's going to be a big problem.
that's
Uh,
right up there with killing Daryl.
oh yeah. Oh, you just don't do that. You just don't do it. No.
So hell
Uh,
will pay if you kill Daryl.
um, did anybody anybody else watch The Walking Dead and have anything to say about it today?
No, I don't watch The Walking Dead.
Wow. Don't watch The Walking Dead, huh? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, moving right along. Let's get to the episode of The Flash. It was, eh, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest episode, but it wasn't a terrible episode either. Um, but we did get a pretty big reveal. So let's go ahead and talk about that, guys. What did you think of the episode today?
Well, I don't know how many of you guys out there in Junkie Nation have watched it, and if you haven't watched it, close your ears, because
Spoiler
I know who
alert.
Zoom
Spoiler alert!
is.
Spoiler alert! Five,
But I
4.
mean, we're not gonna jump right into that. I mean, the episode was pretty cool. It was one of those episodes where they just got back from Earth 2, and they had these difficulties going on with not really understanding. I mean, even though they emotionally they know that these people weren't who they were to them, but emotionally they still felt the same.
Hmm.
And King Shark, which they kind of blew their load on probably the effects budget because he wasn't in a lot of scenes there to be the major villain of the week. But I mean, I liked the episode, and the reveal at the end was it was a little lackluster, mainly because if you're a comic book watcher or reader and you watched the comic book and you paid attention to the series, you already knew who Zoom was. I mean, you had questions about him, may not have been 100% sure, but they told you who he was, and if you looked on Wikipedia and found out who is Zoom, it says who he is right there. So it is kind of like, okay, what is still going on with this person? Because trying not to spoil it for you guys. You thought I was going to be an ass and spoil it. You got two people that look alike, and you want to know why.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean it was a pretty good episode. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they pushed the budget on this episode because when we first saw King Shark, they say that little scene that he had at the end of that Flash episode was pretty expensive. So he was in here, multiple times this time. I mean, it wasn't exactly the action that we wanted, but still, you got to remember that they're on a budget also. They don't have that big budget. But at the same time, they gave us more than just that little peek at it. And then the big reveal at the end, I mean, it's pretty much what everybody expected. I mean, they showed Zoom and he's taking off his mask, and then they're circle panning, and then you actually see that it's
His name is John C.
he couldn't wait he's been waiting for that since yesterday. Oh man.
yes,
He's been waiting for that since yesterday. Oh man, that's a good thing. What'd you think about
I'm
it,
just
GQ?
waiting. I'm waiting for that video meme. That's all I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
I
you know it's coming.
Somebody's finishing it right
Yeah,
now.
you know it's coming. So GQ, let's get your thoughts on the episode of Flash. What do you think of it?
I enjoyed it. The King Shark, you could tell it again, like everybody said, they pushed the budget on this one, and I think they actually got a different team to do it. Because if you compare the King Shark reveal from the original, I think second episode of the season, or first, or whatever it was, he looked almost realistic. Like it looked like he was just in the scene, like somebody was gripping Barry up and holding him there, and he looked real.
Mhm.
Then in this one, is like you could tell the CG was almost like Sci-Fi Channel-ish. Which again, nothing wrong with it because it's a TV budget, but it's just it's like they established this real high bar of how King Shark's gonna look. Then this episode was a little bit dipped down because they had to obviously show him in more scenes.
Right.
So I almost wish they could have found a way to keep that same level of quality in the way he looked originally, into this episode. But I mean, again, like you said, I like the fact that they're pushing the envelope. Because you couldn't have told me 5 years ago that they would have even considered putting a character like King Shark on TV for any of these, these shows. So I mean, I'm glad that they're
Martian
actually
Manhunter
doing it.
for that matter. Martian
Exactly.
Manhunter too,
So
for that
yeah,
matter.
I'm glad that they're
I
at least
think
doing
he
it.
looked more CG too, just because he had more movement in this episode.
Yeah, that's
That
I agree.
his first reveal, he didn't have any movement. He kind of just really stood there.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Dido, what did you think of the whole Zoom reveal now that we kind of pretty much figured out who he is, and where do you guys think it's going to go from here?
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, who got killed at the end of the last episode? What you call it? Because like I said, the reveal was like surprising, like, oh, okay, so it is who that is, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness, it's so and so. Just because, like, when he was sitting in the park, he said, "This is my doppelganger," and blah 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 blah. This is his name. And then when I looked up on Wikipedia, like, who the heck is Zoom? it said who he was, so I kind of figured
I
that was
think,
going on.
in my opinion, I think Zoom is actually from like Earth 3 or something. I don't even think Zoom is from Earth 2. I think Zoom is like, a villain from a whole
Yeah,
different Earth.
with all
He
those
could be.
different breaches, it's very plausible that that's exactly what could be happening.
Yeah, and we still got that man in the iron mask with
It's
our previous
OJ
stream.
Bear.
We
No,
were
that's
saying that
Le- that's
Earth Two.
Leo. We already know that's Leo. That's
Right.
already been established. That's Leo DiCaprio.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm interested to see where it's going to go because now that they're back on Earth One, that pretty much blows my theory about how they're going to get to National City and Supergirl out of the water. But obviously, Cisco's still going to figure fairly prominently in maybe making them cross the breach now that he's got Reverb's glasses. So we'll have to see exactly where it goes from there.